So let's go to someone who is supposed to know a lot about security. And this is also ripped from the headlines. You probably heard this one, heart bleed. Okay, this is a relatively, the bug just barely surfaced. It's about 2 years old. Okay, and what it does, just so you know, is if you send a bad packet, you get back the part of the server's memory. Okay, it'll send you back what the server has in its memory, and you can kind of use this like a what would you call it? It's not a bookmark. It's like you're hunting in the dark. It's like Battleship almost, right? You guys have played Battleship. A4, and so the hacker can be like A4, B3, blah blah blah, and eventually they might get a username and password unencrypted. Okay? And here's the irony of it is, the weakness is in the protocol that runs secure web. So it has the HTTPS and it gives you the little lock. I'll draw the little lock here. When you have the lock on your screen, that's a great lock. Okay? That's the weakness. These are security people, right? And what happened was, here's the feature they wanted. We have talked about connections, right? It is hard to renegotiate a secure connection. All right? And we understand that sort of implicitly. We just went through all that TCP stuff, right? You have to open the connection, the SYN and the ACK and everything else. And what happens on a secure connection is you have to do a lot more stuff. And we'll talk about a lot of that stuff later. But in order to get the stuff secure, you have to tell people what kind of security you're using, what's the key, what's going on. So normally on the web, it's connectionless, meaning, if I connect to Facebook, I download all the stuff from Facebook, and then my computer will just sit there. What they did is they came up with what they called oh, by the way, so I just sit there, and eventually my computer will say, oh, look, I haven't connected to Facebook in a long time, and I'll have to renegotiate the whole connection. Trade the keys again. What are you talking about again? And that wasted a lot of time. So they came up with this idea of a heartbeat. And what we do here is we periodically reconnect or ping the server and the client. So we just sort of ping back and forth to say like, hey, I'm still here. You can still use the same security. Everything's okay. That means we don't have to renegotiate it. So if you've been just sitting on Facebook and kind of waiting for a chat message to come in or whatever, they don't have to renegotiate all the security. It just kind of stays open. We'll just put as often. All right? So someone thought, my goodness, this is a big pain to renegotiate all this. So here's the way I want to do it. But what happened was there was one field that was not validated. Okay? Normally what you do is every time you get a field from another user or from anyone, you validate it. Is it the right length? Is it the right data? Is everything okay? And the person that was writing this, even though they do security software and they have lots and lots of experience with security software, just missed it. Okay? One field was not validated in the code, and it was missed on the first review. And you all can see, right, it wasn't until 2 years later that someone figured out this was happening. All right? And what has that meant for us in our day-to-day lives? Now that means, who has my password? Because you don't know. Somebody might have hacked any site you were connecting to. And if they got there shortly after, remember, it's as long as your stuff is in the server's memory still, at any time if they sort of pinged or did this to the server, they would get back possibly your username and password. The worst part is they would also get the security key, and we'll talk about this one too. And people were wondering, they already knew you could get the username and password, but they thought maybe some systems at least you wouldn't be able to get the security key, but you can get it on everything. So the scary part of this is, as long as the website is not updated, people might have gotten your username and password, so it doesn't make sense to update your username and password until you know it's been fixed. That's fun, right? Because as long as you keep logging in, even if you change your password, the bad guys can get the new password also. So the server people have to fix the whole thing before you change your password. If you've used the same password on lots of websites, that's what's down here, then if someone got your username and password, any one of your accounts is vulnerable. That's fun stuff. I think ODU's stuff was all vulnerable to this. But some people didn't use this heartbeat, and if they didn't, then they were okay. But it was so cool, it's a great feature that they went ahead and did it.